All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. So thank you to everybody that has arrived this morning for the Project Review Subcommittee. Our first order of business this morning, and for those that don't know me, you know yourselves. I am Sandy Hertz. I'm the chair of the Project Review Subcommittee, and all of the folks sitting around the table, with the exception of Charlotte and Kate, are commissioners on the Maryland Commission on Climate Change and members of this committee.
Commission.
Climate change.
I'm sorry. That's the state agency report I was working on just before I came here. This is the critical area commission. I will get it right when I do the motions, I promise. So I just like to give them the blooper reels because they record this, and so that they can sit around and have popcorn and laugh at me and get reports. So I'm guaranteed at least 2 more. So
and you're ensuring that we're like keeping, we're
paying attention.
Yes,
that was totally what I intended there. Thank you, Caroline. You were right on top of that. Okay, now back to the seriousness, right? Our first order of business today is to approve the minutes from our September 7th meeting.
Move to approve.
I think you have to have a second. Move to approve. Yes.
Second.
And a second from Caroline.
No, I have a question first.
Okay, thank you.
I can't remember, but my colleague came for me one meeting. I thought it might have been this one, John Pani.
Yes.
Am I wrong about that?
No, that's true.
And so he came, so I get my name here, or does...
It says on the attendees, it says Papani for Barney Alvarado. Maybe you have an older version.
No, she's actually looking at the afternoon minutes. I'll correct that in the afternoon.
Oh, it's in the afternoon minutes, not in the project minutes.
All right, good. Then, no, I'm glad that I wasn't not remembering.
Yeah.
So I second the motion.
Yeah. All right, fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve from Commissioner Mahoney and a second from Commissioner Barney Alvarado. Yes.
Yeah. Second. Okay.
Yes. And so all those in favor of approving the minutes from September 7th, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? All right, motion to approve the minutes has passed. Thank you. All right, and then I should probably get my agenda for the correct one. Okay. All right. So the first order of official reviews today is going to be the Maryland Department of Transportation's Maryland Port Administration Masonville Dredged Material Containment Facility project presented by Commission staff. Jen Esposito.
A minute to load, so.
I'm going to be presenting Masonville Dredged Material Containment Facility by raising to elevation of +30 above mean low water on behalf of Maryland Department of Transportation, Maryland Port Administration. Before I begin today, I just want to call out we do have some representatives here today to help answer any more technical questions that you may have that I will not be able to answer. So the Masonville Dredged Material Containment Facility, or DMCF, going forward for short, is located in Baltimore City on the middle branch of the Potomac River and the west side of Baltimore Harbor Tunnel, or I-85. And here's a close-up of the DMCF here. And it is located primarily within the critical area in an area considered intensely developed area, or IDA, and is a waterfront industrial area. The primary boundary is shown in red here. And the existing conditions, that's approximately, the elevation is currently at 18 feet above mean lower water. It is an upland disposal site with a dike containment area projecting into the Tapsco River. The site accepts dredge material from the Baltimore Harbor, and the surrounding land use is industrial in nature, and it receives offloading cargoes of automobiles, roll-on, roll-off, and light trucks for processing and storage. And I already read that. So the proposed project again is to elevate the containment dikes to elevation of plus 30 above mean low water. It's a little hard to see here, but the LOD is shown in the red here. And then this is a step 1 phase of a future build-out phases that will take the elevation at plus 42 for the ultimate build-out to provide additional 20 years of capacity for placement of the maintenance dredge material from the Port of Baltimore shipping channel. This is attached to your staff report. The proposed project here is showing the LOD in a very light blue. I apologize, hard to see. The blue connotes the amount of impervious surface that will be newly added within the buffer. The red shows the impervious surface that will be outside the critical area buffer. And approximately, currently, the LOD is about 29 acres, of which 17 acres are within the critical area. With the proposed project, additional construction will occur with the dike raising. This is the typical cross section. Again, this is a part of your staff report, but they're installing a 2-foot-high concrete block. They will be installing a perimeter maintenance access road that will vary between 12 to 20 feet. This is a part of the overall mitigation that we'll get into and the overall impacts that we're going to see. Currently, this is the elevation at the DMCF. They've already put material to widen the base for the raising, which was all within the containment area of the DMCF. They're also installing a vegetative mechanically stabilized girth or MSC retaining wall to support the raised dike embankment. They're also installing the impervious liner along the base of the existing southern dike. This is to help provide stability and support to prevent seepage from the adjacent impervious surface where all the cargo was being stored. And they're reconstructing 2 existing filter stormwater management facilities. And they'll be temporarily removing and replacing a 2-foot strip of pavement post-installation of the liner. This shows you again where the plus 30 elevation will be, and then the hatched lines up here will show you what the future phases of plus 42 elevation. This is an example of what the MSE retaining wall looks like. So again, for the proposed impacts, approximately 17 acres within the IPA. You can see the LOD along here, along with the critical area boundary. Total new impervious surface within the critical area is 3.22 acres, of which 1.92 acres are within the buffer and the remaining outside of the buffer. So for the proposed mitigation, the mitigation ratio is based on the location of the impervious surface. That is translated into a fee in lieu amount. The total amount that the Maryland Port Administration will pay into a fee in lieu is $336,586. That will go to water quality and habitat mitigation, and that will be sent through to Chesapeake Bay Trust. That is allowed under an approved MOU between critical area, Chesapeake Bay Trust, and the port. And that was approved in June of last year. So as a part of COMAR 27020502-3, state agencies who are proposing development activities in state-owned lands shall demonstrate they have considered the likelihood of inundation by sea level rise and to demonstrate the development identifies and incorporates climate resilient practices in order to avoid, minimize environmental or structural damage associated with coastal hazards, an extreme weather event, sea level rise, and other coastal impacts. So the responses from MDOT, MPA, how they're meeting this requirement, the elevations of the current DMCF and the proposed up to +30 under the evaluation of 2100 will not be impacted by sea level rise because of its elevation. The DMCF is currently armored in a revetment that is above low water at 7 feet. That current armoring is protecting it from storm events now and into the future. And then from storm surge, category 1 through 4, it was under evaluation, will not impact the DMCF due to the elevation. For agency reviews and permits, for dam safety, for Maryland Department of Environment, dam safety coordination is currently underway. Stormwater management and erosion sediment control concept approval was granted in November of 2019. However, with COVID, the project was put on hold and it was resubmitted. NPA received concept approval in June of this year and anticipating full approval by this month. The tidal wetland license was approved by the Maryland Board of Public Works. It was approved by the full build-out at 42 feet elevation, and then there are no non-tidal wetland impacts associated with this project. Coordination with Department of Natural Resources, Wildlife and Heritage Services indicate there are no impacts to rare, threatened, or endangered species. There is historic waterfall concentration areas, however, this project will not be impacting that. And Maryland Historic Trust indicated that there will be no impacts to historic properties, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service indicated that there are no critical habitats, refuge lands, or fish hatchery impacts associated with this project. The MDOT MPA met the public notice requirements on May 25th of this year. Signs were posted on site, advertising in the Baltimore Sun. As of today, no comments have been received. And so with that, Commission staff recommends approval of the Masonville DMCF +30 dike raising project with the following conditions. Prior to the start of construction, the Maryland Department of Transportation, Maryland Port Administration shall submit to Commission staff copies of authorizations issued by the Maryland Department of Environment for the following: erosion and sediment control and stormwater management and dam safety review. That. Sure.
So, you already actually shown so that this project doesn't affect the trails or the eagle habitat or anything like that that's already existing.
No.
So it's a separate area away from the.
Yeah. So I can So Masonville Cove starts all the way over here.
Okay.
West side.
Okay.
And then for the MOU with CBT, does it include as a specific target area, like the money can only be used for within
the vicinity around Baltimore City, where a lot of the impacts are currently associated with NPA projects. Also up until there's like a cutoff line of like 97 north, so it kind of hits some targeted areas.
So I have a, just a clarification potentially of the staff report on page 2, second paragraph. First sentence indicates that it's at 18 feet above MMLW. Should that be MLLW? Okay.
Thanks.
Were there any other questions from commissioners? All right. Okay. would anybody like to offer a motion to approve the project?
Yes, I move to approve with the following condition. Prior to the start of construction, MDOT, Maryland Port Administration, shall submit to Commission staff copies of authorizations issued by the Maryland Department of the Environment for the following: A, erosion and sediment control and stormwater management, and B, dam safety review.
Motion to approve by Mr. Mahoney. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. Seconded by Commissioner Eames. All right. All those in favor of this motion to approve, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? All right. Motion passes. The next project that we are going to be hearing, thank you, Jen. The next project we're going to hear is the Department of Natural Resources and Maryland Environmental Service project for the wastewater treatment plant upgrades at Elk Neck State Park, and Charlotte will be presenting.
Thank you, Chair Hertz. My name is Charlotte Sharon, and I will be presenting on the wastewater treatment plant at Elk Neck State Park. This is a joint effort between the Department of Natural Resources and Maryland Environmental Service, and we do have a representative from MES here. Yes. So Elk Neck State Park is located in northeast Maryland in Cecil County. It's divided into kind of 4 separate areas of the park. The wastewater treatment plant is located here, which I believe is kind of part of the Elk River camping area section. The plant itself is located at the end of Thackeray Road near the park store. So existing conditions at the site, this is the wastewater treatment plant right here. You can see it's located right at this point, very close to the water. It is in the buffer. The current wastewater treatment plant requires upgrades just in order to meet the current demands of the park. Honestly, it's not meeting those demands currently. And then the upgrade will also allow DNR and MES to convert it to an enhanced nutrient removal system. So there are impacts to the buffer proposed with this project, given that it's located in the buffer, as those impacts are pretty unavoidable. Mitigation will be provided at 3-to-1 for those impacts. There's also a 10% pollutant reduction required, and that will be met with a micro-bioretention facility on site, as well as 3 micro-infiltration dry wells. So the existing wastewater treatment plant is right here, and then the expansion is actually going to occur kind of up this way, but my understanding is that this part of the plant will still remain and will be part of the upgrade. So the mitigation is currently proposed in this area here, which is within the critical area but outside of the critical area buffer. And so Commission staff, when reviewing this project, felt that there could be potential to meet some of the buffer, at least some of the buffer mitigation in the buffer on site. And so I will discuss that later in the presentation when we get to the conditions of approval. So the project has received concept stormwater approval from MDE. DNR Wildlife and Heritage Service found that there were no records, state or federal, listed candidate proposed for rare plant or animal species. Public notice was met with a sign posted on site, as well as a notice posted in the Cecil Way. And my understanding is that no comments have been received regarding that public notice. And there were no impacts to historic properties per MHT. So climate resiliency, again, the site is right here, so it is outside of the 5 to 10 foot sea level rise inundation. Storm surge predictions will impact the southern portion of the site minimally, but there are no improvements currently existing in that area, and there are no improvements proposed in that area. So the area of impact will not have any structures located there. There are also no wetland migration areas located on site. The nearest wetland migration area is located up here. And furthermore, the project meets the CoSmart construction, siting, and design criteria because it's actually located completely outside of the CS CRAB boundary. So as I said, this project does require conditional approval from the Commission due to the impacts to the buffer. You can refer to pages 3 to 5 of my staff report for more detailed analysis of the conditional approval standards. But just as a summary, like I said, the existing facility is already located in the buffer, therefore improvements to that facility would be difficult, if not impossible, without impacts to the buffer. The existing facility does not have capacity to treat the existing need, and the upgrades proposed here will provide a public benefit through improved sanitation and additional improvements to water quality. Other than the impacts to the buffer, the project is in compliance with all critical area regulations, and the mitigation for impacts to the buffer, as well as the proposed stormwater management on site, will provide substantial environmental benefits, as will the improved sanitation measures of the treatment plant itself. And then finally, there's no clearing of vegetation proposed with the project, and the buffer impacts themselves will be mitigated at 3 to 1. So, as far as a recommendation of approval, staff recommends approval of the project, but with the following conditions. Within 30 days of Commission approval, MES and DNR shall coordinate a site visit with Commission staff to identify potential alternative planting sites within or adjacent to the critical area buffer or forested areas. If an appropriate alternative site is located, MES will provide a revised planting plan and planting agreement form within an additional 60 days from the site visit. And then prior to the start of construction, DNR and MES will submit a copy of all final plans, permits, and approvals, including stormwater management plans and MPE stormwater erosion and sediment control authorizations to Commission staff. Are there any questions? That's my foster dog. He's available for adoption.
Nicely
done.
done.
Plug in public. His name is Whiskey, and he's very sweet and adorable.
I have a comment.
So was the design, did you incorporate like the increase in capacity? I can't remember who. Okay, so I thought they pointed over here. Okay. I know it's an ENR upgrade, so you're looking at nitrogen and phosphorus reduction, but is it also being designed for flow?
No. Flow is not going to change. It's really designed. It's an ENR. The new plant will be an ENR plant, and we will take care of phosphorus and nitrogen. The old plant doesn't do that at all.
Okay. So, but the capacity wasn't.
Capacity is not going to change.
Okay. All right. And then I guess there was, I know the permits were obtained for some of the other MDE permits, but like the MPDS permit, like, has that also been, does that come like after the fact, like after the ENR completion is done, or in process? It's concurrently?
We know it's coming. We're under the existing permit now. That's the old one, but they're going to change. They change every 5 years. So we're due to change, and we've been told it's going to get much more certain.
Okay. And is it a groundwater or surface water discharge, the plant?
Surface water goes right into the outflow. Oh. It's actually a submerged discharge out into the river.
Okay. I have a comment and a question. My comment is basically that I'm happy to see that we're moving to an ENR upgrade. It'll be a wonderful day when the entire state of Maryland has every wastewater treatment plant with that capability. My town does, and it's really great. And my question is under climate resiliency. I noticed what may now be my favorite acronym, CS-CRAB.
Yes.
And I was wondering what that stood for.
So it stands for the CoSmart Climate Ready Action Boundary. And Sandy and Kate are both on the CoSmart.
See how she deflected.
So they can probably answer questions better. But my understanding is that it basically takes It increases 3 feet above predicted sea level rise or existing?
Existing 100-year base flood elevation.
Okay, so basically it's kind of giving you that if there's a storm surge or sea level rise increase up to 3 feet, you can tell if your proposed project is outside of that boundary or not.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is, there may be
additional criteria.
Yeah, citing a design criteria that's required in order to account for that potential flooding.
So would you mind if I borrowed that acronym and used it for something in my town? We good?
It's fair game.
It's out there, huh?
Yeah,
okay.
Go
Very
for
good.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's recorded too, right?
Yes. This won't be the blooper reel.
Thanks.
I do also have a question just related to, and it's not necessarily related to the actual structural components that are being included now, but we're changing the impervious cover aspects of it to some extent. So will there also be additional requirements for stormwater, or is there, I mean, one of the things that I'm looking at is that you have an existing storm drain that is closer to where the CS crab boundary is. So are there considerations for that?
I was in the wrong room. But as I understand it from what our stormwater guys have said, that all the impervious or additional impervious areas that have been added as a result of this expansion have been covered, via the underground. I think the gravel.
Yeah, there's a gravel
as well as the wetland that's proposed in the northeast of the site.
Okay.
But I think based on the house that covers the square footage required. It's about as good as I can get with it.
All right, thanks. I just wanted to double check. All right. Yes, Kat.
You mentioned briefly that the existing wastewater treatment plant infrastructure was going to remain. Are you able to expand on that a little bit? Is that just remaining in place? It's not being adjusted or?
It's being repurposed. We're going to use that for the shellfish protection pond and part of a digester. Okay.
All right. Any other questions from the commissioners? All right. As Charlotte indicated at the beginning of her presentation, this is a conditional approval. So as required, we will need to have a motion as a conditional approval. So is there...
With conditions.
With conditions, yes. It's a conditional approval with conditions, which was a new one for me today. So would anybody like to offer a motion to approve? The conditional approval with conditions, sorry.
I move to approve the conditional approval with conditions.
Thank you. That was Commissioner McDonald. Seconded by Commissioner Beulah.
Does he have to second that with conditions too?
I don't know. It's just the motion that she made, and she covered it. So.
And she should get a prize for getting all that.
And Emily's not here to correct me, so.
Don't worry, I'm here.
All right.
Are we having fun yet?
Yes, we are having fun. We're just trying to kill time. We always beat the guys in the other room. That's on record now. So. So we have a motion for a conditional approval with conditions. And I am now asking for a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All those opposed, indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? All right, the motion passes. And our final project of the day, last but not least, is the St. Mary's College project presented by Susan McCool.
Thank you,
Chair. First, good morning, everyone. Susan McClure, I will be presenting an update to the Memorandum of Understanding between St. Mary's College and the Critical Area Commission. Before we continue, I'd like to introduce Thomas Brewer, Manager of Environmental Health, Safety, and Sustainability Programs at St. Mary's College. He's attending the meeting today on behalf of the MOU and will be available to answer any questions you might have. I'd like to begin by sharing an outline for the presentation. We'll start with some background information on St. Mary's College, then we'll discuss general approvals before reviewing the specifics of the MOU, including the attachments. Finally, there will be time for any questions you may have at the end of the presentation. So this slide shows you where St. Mary's College is located. St. Mary's County is circled in the map of Maryland on the left. The map on the right is zoomed in a bit on St. Mary's County, and the purple thumbtack indicates the location of St. Mary's College. So St. Mary's College is a public institution of higher learning located in St. Mary's County, adjacent to historic St. Mary's City. The campus encompasses approximately 360 acres, including waterfront areas along the St. Mary's River. The school was founded in 1840 and was incorporated by an act of legislation in 1846. In 1992, the Maryland legislature designated St. Mary's College the state's public honors college. The college shares land with historic St. Mary's City, and the campus and historic St. Mary's City together are considered one of the most important archaeological sites in the United States, with an archaeological record spanning more than 10,000 years of human occupation. So the map in the upper left shows St. Mary's College in light green. The same map on the upper right shows the college's critical area map included on top. So as you can see, the college is located partially within the critical area and includes land designated as an intensely developed area, or IDA, and also land designated as RCA, Resource Conservation Area. You can see the campus and the aerial imagery on the bottom. We're just orienting you a bit. This is Maryland 5 here. Here's St. John's Pond, which is one of the campus landmarks. The admissions office is located over here along College Drive. The library is here overlooking St. John's Pond. And if you recall, back in July, the commission approved the Maryland Heritage Interpretive Center, and that building is going to be built right here south of the Minnetonka Hall. So Parkville, March 27, 0203, the Critical Area Commission is required to approve any action by a state agency which results in development in the critical area on state-owned land, private lands, or lands owned by local jurisdiction. COMAR specifically gives the Commission the ability to enter into general approvals with state agencies to seek approval for programs or classes of activities that result in development of a minor scale in the critical area. This general approval authority has commonly been implemented through the use of a Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, between the Commission and the state agency. The MOU is the legal agreement between St. Mary's College and the Critical Area Commission and includes each party's roles and responsibilities. The purpose of the MOU is to provide a streamlined process for the review of specific maintenance and redevelopment actions by allowing critical area staff to conduct necessary project reviews and approvals in lieu of a commission vote. The MOU includes details regarding the types of projects that are eligible for review under the MOU, the thresholds for disturbance or impacts within the critical area, and the necessary mitigation for those impacts. The MOU itself comprises 10 sections, including the following: purpose, roles and responsibilities, term, and general provisions. Exhibit A of the MOU, which begins on page 8, includes the conditions for general approval of St. Mary's College projects that may be approved at the agency or staff level. These projects are divided into two categories: Class 1, annually reported activities, and Class 2, activities requiring prior approval. The MOU also includes 3 attachments. Attachment 1 is a mitigation guidance document, and it includes stormwater management guidance and a master buffer management plan. Attachment 2 is a site-wide climate-resiliency assessment. It includes procedures for St. Mary's College staff to follow to ensure projects have been assessed for coastal vulnerabilities, including sea level rise, extreme weather events, and other impacts. Attachment 3 includes tracking spreadsheets. The spreadsheets provide a standard method to track Class 1 projects for annual reporting and to track mitigation for all projects that have mitigation requirements. Each of these attachments will be discussed in a little more detail in the following slides. So you can refer to page 9 of the MOU for a complete list of Class 1 annually reported activities. This slide lists several types of Class 1 activities, including landscape planting and maintenance, archaeological activities, and maintenance of existing stormwater management facilities. No more than 5 trees may be removed for each Class 1 project, and every tree removed must be replanted with 1 native tree. Trees removed from the buffer must be replanted within the buffer. Instead of commission staff reviewing each individual Class 1 project, St. Mary's College will submit an annual report of the Class 1 projects, and the report will also note any tree clearing and the required mitigation. Class 2 projects, activities requiring prior approval, must meet the qualifying parameters for Class 2 projects and must be submitted to commission staff for review and approval. The list of eligible Class 2 activities begins on page 12 of the MOU. Examples include maintenance projects that exceed the threshold limits for Class 1 projects, new or expanded buildings and structures, roadway, parking, and sidewalk projects where an increase in imperviousness is proposed, and the installation of new utility lines. So as noted earlier, Class 2 activities must meet the Class 2 qualifying parameters in order to be reviewed under the MOU. The Class 2 qualifying parameters begin on page 10 of the MOU. This slide lists several of the qualifying parameters, including the following. New buildings and structures are limited to 2,000 square feet. The limit of disturbance for non-linear projects is limited to 5,000 square feet. And the expansion of impervious surfaces for linear projects is limited to a 3-foot width for roadways on either side. In addition, forest and woodland clearing is limited to 10,000 square feet for linear projects and 5,000 square feet for non-linear projects. And no impacts to habitat protection areas are allowed other than the critical area buffer. The thresholds for disturbance impacts listed under the qualifying parameters may be exceeded by minor amounts if St. Mary's College provides written justification for the exceedance. The critical area staff will review this submittal and determine if the project fits the intent of the MOU. If the project does not meet the intent of the MOU, it will require full critical area commission review and approval. Section 3.1.9 of the MOU on page 11 includes examples of justification, such as the nature or intensity of the project is not changing, and after completion of work, the site will be restored to original conditions. Attachment 1 mitigation begins on page 14 of the MOU. This attachment includes guidance related to stormwater management, a master buffer management plan, and a buffer use areas map. The stormwater management section includes a list of landscape options for stormwater best management practices that may be more suitable for historic sites, given the constraints with ground disturbance potentially impacting archaeologically sensitive areas. The Master Buffer Management Plan identifies several specific uses allowed within the buffer at St. Mary's College, including public access areas and existing view sheds. So the buffer use map is shown on this slide. You can see some of the existing view sheds looking down from campus. You can also see an area of restored shoreline here along the St. Mary's River. And this is a living shoreline project along St. John's Pond. Attachment 1 also includes mitigation ratios for buffer impacts and for non-buffer forest and developed woodland clearing. The various ratios are included on this slide and include 2-to-1 for a new water-dependent facility in the buffer, 3-to-1 for a new non-water dependent development in the buffer, and 1-to-1 for non-buffer forest or developed woodland clearing. Attachment 2, the site-wide climate resiliency assessment, begins on page 18 of the MOU. Per OMAR 27020502A2, state agencies are required to consult with the Commission as soon as practical in the project planning process to assess climate resilient practices that address coastal hazards, extreme weather events, sea level rise, and other impacts. St. Mary's College will use the procedures included in Attachment 2 to determine whether a proposed project is located within a vulnerable area. If a Class 2 project is located in a vulnerable area, St. Mary's College will follow the guidance outlined in Attachment 2. The college is also required to review all applicable capital projects in accordance with the Post-Smart Construction Program guidance as amended to ensure avoidance and minimization of impacts to St. Mary's College projects in vulnerable locations. Attachment 3 includes 2 tracking spreadsheets. The first spreadsheet tracks Class 1 projects for annual reporting. It includes columns that correspond to the items listed in Section 2.1 of Exhibit A, reporting requirements. The second spreadsheet tracks mitigation projects that have mitigation requirements. The spreadsheets will assist with the preparation of the March 1st annual report for Class 1 projects and will ensure that the mitigation requirements for all projects are tracked and monitored. So staff recommends approval of the St. Mary's College of Maryland Critical Area Commission MOU.
So I have a question.
Yes.
On page 9 of the MOU, there is one bullet that speaks to the maintenance of natural surface trails, and it talks about including minor filling or minor rerouting of the trail itself. How is that being defined? Like, in terms of ground disturbance, from an ENS standpoint, it's ground disturbance, not just. So I'm wondering whether or not you've, in your mind, how you are viewing minor rerouting when it comes to new disturbance.
That's a good question. I don't think we have defined it, more definitively rather than minor. I don't know, Charlotte or Thomas, if you want to add to that. But
it's not defined. The only thing I would say is that if it comes in and we don't think it's minor, we would bump it to commission level, but that's not a very definitive answer.
I mean, I think the other thing to consider, it's a natural surface trail, so we're not talking about minor rerouting of something that's involving lot coverage. And so generally, with natural surface trails, we're working on updating our guidance document for trails.
Okay.
So I would expect that
it would be covered there. Okay. All right. And just a comment based on, I think, my review. My review of the report was that I think the MOU was in existence already from 2011, and that a lot of what we're talking about today in terms of the MOU updates is really to make them consistent across the other MOUs that the Commission holds. Is that true?
Right. The updates for the climate resiliency piece to include that in it, and to more standardized with some of the other MOUs we've worked on. The attachments, the original MOU didn't have the attachments, like the tracking spreadsheets, that stormwater management guidance. It was to bring it more to make it correspond to MOUs that we've been working on, to add the pieces that have been added since 2011. And we did change some of the like the LOD, the limited disturbance for some of them, again, to bring it more in line with the other MOUs that we've worked on. So, and to further improve the process for reviewing projects.
All right, great. Any other questions from commission staff or commissioners? Sorry. Would anyone like to enter in a motion to approve? Motion to approve by Commissioner Marty Alvarado. Anyone? And a second by Commissioner Bula. All those in favor of approving the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Right. Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay. And then any abstentions? All right. Motion passes.